have you on here finally. This will be our first interview of hopefully quite a few interviews to go, man. I'm really excited to have you. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. So I just want to have you on here, man. We've been talking for a few years now, and you definitely trade quite a bit more than me. So, and you're doing the day trading thing for quite a long time. I know we talked a little bit about what you were doing, how long you've been doing it, but I kind of want to share with more people to hopefully maybe if they're interested, enlighten the way for them and kind of see how you got started and then how you've continued to be able to do it and be successful at doing it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so just to recap on what we were talking about earlier, I've been pretty much getting involved with the markets now for I want to say about 4 or 5 years, like steady. I actually don't have an exact like start date necessarily, so
Yeah.
somewhere around that area. But so I was always involved with it growing up, and it was just always a thing in the back of my head that I knew that there was money there, and where there's money, my interest is.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, so basically, I was fortunate enough to have a mom that started a basically a small, Roth with a separate financial advisor that set this up.
Okay.
And when I turned 18, she like mentioned it to me, and that's when the gears really started rolling on it, and I started looking into it. And anyways, I looked into it. Didn't really. It was just such a large amount of information that it was intimidating,
It is.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just stepped away, and years went by. But I was still trying to figure out ways to make money, and I know we talked briefly about this.
Yeah.
So um, I was I was doing some things to just make some money that I wasn't really like too fond of, and I was looking for another outlet. Just to really get some good paper coming in other than like a 9 to 5.
Yeah, of course.
Um, so at the time I was actually a bartender, and a buddy of mine was just like talking a little bit about trading stocks, and it kind of clicked my interest again. So I jumped back in it,
Yeah.
started doing like a little bit of buy and hold, more or less, not really trading, just buying and
Yeah,
holding.
kind of getting a feel
And
for everything, like even seeing how to I don't even know how to buy. I don't know what kind of buys are out there. Just like how do I even start? Like you said, it's a lot
exactly,
of information, so you don't even know where to start. You had the Roth, you had some money to
exactly.
play around with, quote unquote, so that's good. But I mean, I think a lot of people when I started, I started 2.5 years ago, and it's actually similar. My dad had a Roth for me with just not too much money in there, but I didn't even know where to start. But I figured that it was a good opportunity to start, so it's kind of cool to see how similar that was. But it's really the only way to learn is, I guess, like you're saying, is just to start and see where it takes you and start playing around with buying it and holding it and kind of seeing what it's all about.
Absolutely agree with that. You got to jump in it. The experience is really what triggers
Yeah.
people to continue in it. There's a lot of people that go to school for financial advising and all that, and that's fine, but it's still a little bit different from trading.
Yeah.
And there's no school really for trading. I guess there is. There's like programs
It's,
and whatnot.
there is, and obviously there's a lot of saturation in that market, right, for schools.
Yep.
But I think you'd probably agree with like the number one thing is just experience. Like, not until you've had like your first loss, no matter what size it is, or even your first win, you really realize
Yeah.
like the potential to really learn just by experience.
Yeah, and and just one thing to be like touch on the learning. You can learn as much as you want, and you can know everything about the market, but it also goes into personality, and not everyone's personality is able to mesh with type of this type of hustle, I guess.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it
Crazy.
it can be pretty emotional, obviously like winning and losing, and I think a lot of people relate it to gambling, of course, but I'd say one of the things I always tell people when they get started, and it's near impossible when you start, but you got to cut out your emotion as much as possible, which is extremely hard when you're literally watching your money, go up or go down. I mean, it's kind of hard to cut that emotion out. So you almost have to become
Yeah,
robotic you want to make the most rational decisions.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
so that's pretty cool. So you started with the Roth, and you started playing around, and you started buying and holding, and kind of seeing the motions and seeing kind of how get a feel for everything. And then how long kind of did you do that before you started maybe changing your tactics around or whatever?
So at this point, when I was just buying and holding, they were shit companies. You know, a lot of people start off and they buy companies that they know, like Apple or Microsoft or
Yeah.
Ford or
Yeah.
whatever. I was just buying shit penny stocks
Yeah.
because I didn't put that much capital in, so I just wanted to see a ton of shares. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I would buy into these, I would hold them for months.
Okay.
You know, and this probably went on for about a year, I'd say. Yeah,
Okay.
probably about a year
Just all
before.
all penny stocks that whole time.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
pretty
Okay.
much. And then I think it was summer of 15, 15, yeah, I think so, or 16. No, 15, yeah.
Okay.
And I had a penny stock that I was holding for a bit, and it took off.
Yeah.
And I started just playing around with like 300 to 500 bucks,
Okay.
and very quickly that 300 to 500 bucks turned into about 10K. And that was all just through these penny stocks that I would literally grab and hold. Penny stocks were going nuts
So,
at the
so,
time.
so maybe a little bit of luck there because you're like just buying whatever.
Oh,
So
that's the definition of luck. I had no idea what I was
yeah.
doing, no risk management. I didn't know what a stop loss was. I know I had to
Yeah.
click and sell and buy and sell, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know, but so yeah, so I started doing that, and then when I got those big winners, then I really was like, all right, I'm gonna sit in front of the computer, watch it from
Yeah,
open to
take it
close.
real
You know,
seriously. I'm gonna take it seriously because there's clearly money to be made in here. Like I don't really know how I made this. I bought these things, I sold them, but I made a lot of money out of nothing essentially. So there's if you play your cards right here, like there's potentially a lot of money to be made, obviously. So it like really perked your interest, huh? Like
yeah, it definitely did. And then I started getting these like greedy voices in my head that were like, "Oh, don't wait anymore." Like,
yeah,
I was buying and holding, like I said. Now it's like, no, day trade. Do this as fast as you can. Get these gains as quick as you can.
yeah,
And I started losing a lot of money.
yeah,
That
yeah.
10K started dwindling down to about probably I lost more than half of it.
Jeez.
Um, so technically, I guess I'm still up, but it's
Yeah, and I think that happens
disappointing.
probably to a lot of people. Like a lot of people do get maybe quote unquote lucky, with something
Yeah.
like that. I've heard quite a few stories kind of like that, and then they're like, obviously I know what's going on. Like obviously I know how to trade. I'm a professional. I know how to do this. All right.
Oh my
I've
god,
just
yeah,
had thousands of
so much.
percents of gain, and then they actually start paying attention, and because they're applying the knowledge that they think they know exactly what's going to happen, they probably start losing a little bit of money, but so you lost like maybe 50, 60%, and then you just stopped and you're like, I got to figure something out here. I'm going to be back to the start.
Yeah, so I like to be very self-aware, and I like to analyze my own actions a lot. So I wanted to take a step back and realize like what is going on. Why was I doing so well in
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, and now when I have a year of experience,
Yeah.
then I'm starting to lose all this, and I'm like, like what is going on?
Yeah.
So then I really directed towards the educational route.
Okay.
Started looking up technical analysis, learning about candlestick charts, patterns, all these different indicators and all that. And, I was like, oh, I have all this, and this indicator means this. And,
Yeah.
everything's just easy. It's black and white almost, you'd think. And then I realized there's no indicator that's going to tell you exactly what it is,
Yeah.
and I started losing money again, and
Yeah.
pretty much yo-yoing. So up and down, up and down.
Trying to find your groove,
Um,
kind of learn while,
exactly.
teach yourself and educate yourself while still kind of getting the experience, because I think the experience is probably the best educator there. Of
Yeah,
course, though, I
yeah,
know, when we had talked, last few weeks or months, you were saying something a little bit about this, and I'm sure you're gonna slowly get into there as well. But you're kind of finding your own way, but you're kind of seeking more, in a way, in this sector at least, what is formal education, right? I mean, you were kind of going after somebody that pretty much knew what they were doing, that has a pretty good track record. I think you were saying so.
yeah, exactly. So when I started going for this educational, and I'm sure a lot of people have done this. I did look into the educational part and try to figure out what everything means and how things work. But then I started looking for people to just give me picks. You know what I mean? And I did a bunch of like different services where you like pay a guy like $50 a month and he sends you some picks and like that's it. But you still don't know what you're doing at that point,
Yeah.
and because you're just taking calls, you're a puppet, and that's what
Exactly.
you're
Yeah, you're
doing.
not doing any of your due diligence. You don't know why it's a pick. You don't know anything. You just be like, oh,
Yeah.
this guy sent me this ticker. He says it's good to go, so I'm just blindly going to put all of my money in there and just see if it, or hopefully it goes up because this guy says he knows what he's doing.
Yep,
So
and I was going into these
yeah,
trades still with like no real concept of like a chart. And like like we were saying, I'm a technical trader.
yeah,
I don't trade on fundamentals. So when I also looked in education, I saw the fundamental analysis. That was crazy to me. That
yeah.
was like math problems and all this other stuff, and like I just didn't like it.
Yeah,
So I knew I
so
wanted to go
okay.
technical.
Yeah, and then I guess for anybody watching that may or may not know, like technical analysis, of course, going to be your tracking these charts, right? Because every chart or every stock has a history. You're tracking it via these charts, and you have all these indicators on there that people, for better or worse, they say they can pick apart and essentially predict from past movement, a forecast of what that will do. And then you have, of course, fundamental analysis, which is, like you said, a little bit more numbers. You're looking at what's the word I'm looking for the company's track record, the sheets. I can't remember what they're called, but essentially you're looking at all the company's past performance over the years and over the quarters, and kind of deducing information off of that, and then maybe using news analysis as well, and seeing like what's going on in the future. So both different aspects, but both very different. Some people, technical analysis traders, like you're saying, some people are just fundamental, and then some people use both. And balance sheet is the word I was looking at. Studying the balance sheets of a company is what
Yeah.
people are definitely into. So you would definitely consider yourself just the TA kind of guy, a technical analysis kind of guy.
Yeah,
So
and
so
it took
you're
me a
like
little bit.
slowly, yeah, you're finding your groove, and it seems like it's just a long process, and you're just finding your step by step, and you're like, all right, I think TA kind of suits me, and but
Yeah.
I'm still like taking other people's picks, and I don't really know what's going on still.
And also, you actually touched on it. I was going to say it, but you beat me to it. You said some people use a mix of fundamental analysis and
Yeah,
technical analysis.
yeah,
And I was trying that for a bit. And for me personally, some people are really great at it. For me personally, I was not good at that. I couldn't do it because I would look at a chart and, again, very basic at this point, didn't really know.
yeah,
Or I would see an event coming up and I'd buy into XYZ, and it would go against me. So then, like, say I bought that on technical analysis. Now I would start to go look at fundamentals and be like, oh, it should go over here because this is gonna be great. Or I look at fundamentals and I buy in on fundamentals. It would go against me, and then I look at technicals and be like, oh, well, it's still gonna be. So basically, I was looking for something to reaffirm my position,
okay.
and I basically was taking big losses. But
It
again, I
sounds
didn't
like it
push
almost
anything.
can be like almost too much information. Like you're looking at technical analysis, and you're looking at fundamental analysis, and like you just have like all this overwhelming information. It's even like it's easier to make a decision when you have less choices, kind of thing. But if you have
Yes.
like all these choices and all this information, like you're like it's kind of hard to put all of them together. But
Parallelization over
exactly.
analyzation. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's tough.
Um,
So then
so
at this point you're like kind of trying to do a little bit of both, and then you're like thinking maybe technical analysis is just the way to go, I guess, at this point.
yeah, I realize I'm not going to be reading 8Ks. I'm not going to be going through earnings reports. It's too risky. Even if you see a company get good earnings reports, the stock market doesn't care. They'll say no.
Exactly. And that's a really good
So
point to make on fundamental analysis. I'm glad you brought that up because I know even we've talked about some stocks that I've traded. I'm like, listen, man, there's like so much good information on this. There's so much potential in this company. And I'm like, look at this news. It's like plain as day. At least that's what it seems to me. And then, like you said, the market doesn't really care. One little speck of negative news comes out and it wipes all that good news away, and it just tanks. And you're like, but I had a winner. Like
yep.
there was no way this could lose, but clearly like that's not possible. So you're like, all right, I'm not sticking to fundamental. I'm going to do some TA because it says a little bit more.
Exactly. So when I made that choice to go technical analysis only, I just realized that the stock market is like a giant spoiled brat. All right, it overreacts about everything.
Yeah,
So
very
when these like
emotional. Yeah,
knee jerk reactions would happen, I mean, you can't look at an 8K and be like, or earnings report, like, you know what, it'll probably bounce off $17.35. You can't do that. So I
yeah,
started looking at technical analysis, and really playing into the market's emotion. And that's again with what a chart is. A chart shows the emotion of everybody that's in on that ticker, shorts or longs or bulls or bears, whatever you want to call them. So I realized I really like to trade the emotion or the chart, whatever you want to call it. And then that's when I started finding my groove. Also, I got out penny stocks. That was another thing that
Okay.
started getting out of my groove. Not that I don't trade them, I just very rarely go long in penny stocks.
Okay.
Especially for a swing or anything like that. So then I started, finding my groove. And at this point, I was working with less capital, so I was still
Okay.
underneath the 25K PDT rule. So
Okay.
most of my trades were swings.
Okay. And
Um,
I guess again for people maybe that might not know the under 25K rule, if you want to explain that real quick.
Yeah, so if you are in the United States of America and you're a resident here, you need a minimum of $25,000 cash in your account at
Yep.
all times to be able to trade more than 3 times in 5 trading days.
Yeah.
If you go
Yeah.
over that, they will
The
suspend your
flag.
account for I
Yeah.
believe 90
Yep.
days, and then after that they do something else. I'm not really sure. They
Yeah,
try to shut down your
a lot
account.
of people don't understand it. I didn't understand that. I know when I started trading, I used TD Ameritrade and I used a little bit of Robinhood app, which I've talked about before. But even it doesn't matter what you're using. That's a United States law. You just can't do it if you have under 25K. So that was kind of
Exactly.
that was limiting you because it looks like this is when you were doing the buy and holds for a while, and then now you're kind of like realizing, hey, I might want to buy more often, but now I'm being held up. I can't even do this with the amount of money that I have in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're underneath the PDT, you get into a habit of wanting home runs rather than day trading, where you're just taking like a little piece of the pie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When you're a limited amount of trades, it affects your trading style. It does, but at the same time, I did adjust to it. I did
Hmm.
go, swing trades, shorting and long, and I kind of started getting into a steady pattern for a good amount of time. Probably say about a year and a half, 2 years at this point, and I started slowly building that, couple K up and up and
Yeah.
up. And I remember when I got back to that 10K mark, that I originally got that couple
Hmm.
$100 and I lost it all. I was like, all right, like
All
I
right.
built this portfolio
Now I'm
back
ready.
up. Like
Yeah.
now I'm starting to get something. Now I have some educational behind me,
Okay.
and then I just kept going, and I kept tweaking my strategy
Yeah.
and mixing around. I started, going to options and a couple of just
Okay.
different strategies. But at this point, which is not pretty now, current. Um, Looking back, I realized that education is what is going to make you long term in this.
Okay.
And when I say education, I mean knowing what a chart is and the aspects of it. I do not mean learning a certain strategy, because not every strategy works for every single trader.
Yeah. Okay.
There's plenty of people that will like teach you their strategy and, oh, it works, great yields or whatever. It's not the case. Learn this chart, learn how to read it, and you will develop your own strategy, with a system that you will build and have back tested, and you will see the results. Don't
No, and
copy
I think that's
anything.
great. And I think one thing people may not realize, I mean, you're talking about months and literally years now, from when you started. And yeah, you had a lot of success in your first year, but you attribute it to essentially luck, of course, for most of it. But clearly, like your luck runs down and you cut back 50 to 60%. But then you're like, all right, you chin checked yourself. I got to do something about it. You got the training, and you continue the training, and you're still, learning, of course, now, even in the present. But then it
Um,
took, like it sounds like you said, another year and a half. So you're probably about 2.5 years into it at this point, up into the story, and you're still learning, still finding your stride, essentially. And
yeah.
now you're back to even, and now we're 2.5 years into the game, and you're back to even from your first big win. So I think too many times in whatever investment they're trying to do, they're like, what's that? You hear it all the time. What's the overnight success? Or everybody's a success story. If somebody was to look at you right now, they'd be like, dang, Mike is like a really good trader and he just makes all this money. But you see him now. You're not seeing you like the years of like heartache of losses and like all this late nights of studying or whatever after your day job or whatever you're doing, like I think that's a really important takeaway from here. Is you just got to be very essentially passionate about it and want to be really good at it. I think like anything that you're going to be successful in, it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And you kept at it and you kept on doing it for years, and then here you are. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're doing this as your primary job now, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Right now, for like a while now, I haven't really been working. I'm not gonna lie, I've been going insane. I have so much time, man. So
oh man, I'm
I
pretty sure everybody else watching with me, including myself, is like, oh my God, I'm sorry, you're a day trader and you have too much time on your hands and you're going crazy. Like,
no,
I'll switch with you.
no, I'm telling you, it's not as good. I recently just got another part-time bartending gig, and like it's like it's just not enough. It's just like I have so much just to sit around because when you're trading, you're not, especially day trading. You know, you don't want to be in the computer 24/7.
Yeah.
And there's only so much other stuff you can do, and then before you know it, you're just like, I don't know. You end up drinking really early in the day, I guess.
Well, I guess if you're done, so I mean, because you're on the East Coast here with me, so I know like of course the market opens at 9:30, but I think you're doing a little bit of you have permissions to trade early, right? So I guess in keeping in chronological order here, you've been trading for 2.5 years up to this point. Now, how far are you into it currently right now? How many years do you think you've been trading to the present day?
So like I said, it's been about 4 or 5 years since I started getting involved with it, but actually trading, yeah, you're probably on point with that. I'd probably say 15, yeah, 2.5, yeah, about 2.5 years.
Okay, 2.5 years is serious, like no shit, like hard going at it, figuring it out, learning. And I know you were using, I can't remember the guy's name, and I'm not trying to pump anybody else, but unless you want to talk about him, but you seeked out to Clay, right? And you were talking to him, and he kind of became a mentor of yours. So that's pretty cool.
Hold on 1 second. Can you close that down? Sorry, puppy just pushed the door open.
Sure, mine's running
so
around
Clay,
here somewhere.
Yeah, he was the one that, because the great thing I liked about Clay is that he didn't teach a strategy like I was saying earlier. He just told you exactly like how the chart breaks down. But yeah, so I got distracted. But that's what you asked, right?
No, so I mean, we're asking. So you had been doing it for a couple of years at this point, and you were, finding your stride. You're continuously teaching yourself. And then as you were finding out that you wanted to be a technical analysis trader, you're continuing to find your stride, and then you found this guy, so just so everybody knows, this guy out there goes by Clay Trader, and you found him kind of as a trading mentor, if you will, has a program out there, much like we were talking about like an oversaturated market of people out there offering, stock or whatever kind of information, but and this guy, of course, like you said, you have to pay for it, but you found him and you gave it a little try, and you found out. And then I want you to talk about it a little bit. You were saying you found it out, but he didn't really like just give you a hot pick. He kind of realized like, hey man, I'm not going to tell you to trade anything. I'm going to tell you, this is kind of how I do it. And this is kind of how, helping you teach you how to ride the bike, not like holding you while you rode the bike,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, like education is like the backbone of it all. Because like you can go online, and like I did that for years. I went online and I tried to watch YouTube videos about this and that.
Yeah.
And
I did a lot of that myself.
Yeah, and there's a ton of information. There's a ton of free information. And is there every bit of information that Clay taught me, on the internet for free? Yes, there is. But the big difference is it's not structured in an order of where it breaks down and you're able to absorb it all like a school would be,
exactly. Yeah, so you don't have to sift through anything, or you don't have to sift through everything, because obviously there's a plethora of information out on YouTube, and like you don't know maybe what comes first, or I should learn this first, or how to apply this to that, so
exactly.
Yeah.
And Clay has his own style, but if you look at how he trades and how I trade, it's completely different. Some of the stuff I'd be trading he would never touch, and vice versa. But we have the common knowledge of, we can look at a chart and we completely understand it.
Okay.
And we can, give a quick analysis of the probabilities of where it's going to go. But you're right. He would never tell me to buy any certain thing or nothing like that.
I think that's a really important takeaway. So you were just like we keep on saying, you were finding your stride, and then he kind of was like, it's just, I don't even know, like you're finding your stride, and then like he's just really giving you a good extra push in the right direction at this point, because you're figuring out how to do everything, and then it sounds like he was like the right thing for you at the exact right time of how long you had already been doing it. Because I think maybe if you had, I guess what I'm getting at, if you had found him too early, like if you were still like 5 months, 6 months into it, and thought you were maybe the king of trading penny stocks, it might not have been as good a knowledge to you. But after you've suffered those losses and you felt like how it feels, and maybe I don't know everything about trading, and then you find this guy, and it sounds like it was just exactly what you needed to hear at that time.
It was perfect timing.
So
It really was.
that's pretty awesome. So that was like it sounds like it's about two and a half, 2 years maybe when you just kind of found him. Or, I
Yeah,
don't
probably
know.
something about that. I've actually built a good relationship with him now. I've met him in person.
Oh,
His
cool.
co-host, me and Chaz, we went out deep sea fishing a couple months ago down in Florida, and Clay was down there too. But yeah, no, it was a good time. And they're good people. I definitely appreciate everything that they helped me out with.
That's awesome to hear. That, I mean, there's obviously people out there that really want to help other people, and those are definitely the right reasons to help people. Teach them how to fish, because I think experiencing those things for yourself is the only way you could really learn. Like those, getting hot picks from anybody is not the long term way to be successful, because you're gonna have no idea what you're doing at all. You're just gonna be blindly following. So what?
Exactly.
So like, I guess was it at this point where you realized like, all right, I'm gonna day trade now. Like this is where the money's at, and I think you started. You said you trade with options a little bit, which are quite different than trading bullishly. But and then you started shorting a stock, which of course is making money off of a falling stock. So you kind of what do you mostly do now?
All right, so basically, when I was swing trading, and I finally built up to that 10K. It continued to go, and then I basically got past that 25 PDT. And even
Okay.
before that, I started still going towards day trading, that quicker action.
Yeah.
Just my personality. I don't have patience to really sit around and swing stuff for
Yeah.
months, years, or whatever. I still do in a separate account, but I'll be honest, I can't even look at the account 'cause I already want to start to touch it.
That's how I
So
am.
yeah, so I'll put a couple things in there, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
all right, it's completely separate brokerage actually too. But so yeah, I started already feeling myself going towards the fast action of day trading,
Yeah.
and I like the excitement of it. I like the no overnight risk. That was a big thing. Overnight risk.
It is a good feeling.
Swinging.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah,
you're all out, and you're not like sitting there after the market closes like I can't do anything about that right now. Like it's like you get the load off your back after every trading day, like you start fresh. It's a good feeling.
exactly. There's no tie to it. There's no marriage to it. Half the time I don't even know the company's name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, if I'm like say like in the morning, like I'm never like worried when I'm going to bed, or like when I wake up in the morning, I'm not like, is there PRO? Like, is
Yeah.
something
And you
happening?
don't even need the pressure at that point. Like if you don't have a trade that entire day, that next day, then don't make a trade. Like don't force a trade essentially, right? But if you have that trade
Exactly.
overnight, then your hands held. Like you're gonna have to do something. You're either gonna sit there and not sell it and maybe watch it do whatever it's gonna do, or you're gonna have
Yep.
to figure out if you're gonna sell it or not. And that's kind of scary. But I think coming into the new day, because it's such a mental game, right? So if you're coming into the game and you already know that you don't have to be forced to sell or well not buy anything, but you're not forced to sell anything, then I think that's a good feeling, because like we were saying, it's such an emotional or emotionless game. You want to be rational on your trades. You want to be like, I know exactly why this TA is saying what it is to me, and I want to be able to execute this rationally. And then if you're coming into that irrationally, emotionally, and you're like, I need to get rid of this, like, oh, this is making me uneasy, then you're more than likely going to make a bad trade, I'd say.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Emotions will definitely mess up any trade plan if you're not
Yeah.
following it.
So that's pretty cool. So
But
you're like, here you are a couple of years later, obviously it was no easy learning path, and you put a ton of work into it, made some really good contacts, it sounds like some helpful contacts, and you're just chugging along, and then now you're doing it, I guess, you're a professional day trader. I mean, that's what you're doing, and you're bartending on the side so you don't get too bored and frees up some
Yeah.
time to travel. And I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, so when I first really started doing it, like just day trading, I guess you would say, it was definitely a big, how do I say it? The freedom of being able to trade unlimited
Yeah,
can really be a challenge in itself because, like you were saying, don't force a trade. But when you've been held back for years and not been able to trade unlimited, and then you have that freedom,
yeah,
yeah, you might overtrade a little bit. You know, you might
yeah,
force some trades. So that was actually another learning curve for me. So when I really started jumping into it, I was taking some hits here and there. You know,
yeah.
overall it was fine, but yeah, like it was just tough. And also, yeah, and then I was traveling a lot at the same time. Me and my girlfriend we traveled a ton, so that was another thing that was kind of fun to do, but I don't know when you're trading on the road, that's a little tricky.
Yeah, I mean,
Your
it
setups are
requires
different.
a lot of attention. I mean, I know you're in and out through the day. You know, you don't have to worry about it overnight. I mean, I think, and I keep on going back to it's such a mental game. You want to make sure your head's in the game, and I think when you're traveling, it's going to be maybe a little bit of a distraction to say the least. But I don't know. I haven't done. I take it back. I did it a little bit, and I I don't know. I definitely traded. My trading style was degraded a little bit because I was focused on some other things. But so it's difficult. I mean.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, definitely. And like you have one screen, like Wi-Fi could be like shoddy. That happened to me actually once. I remember I was at a coffee place, and like I don't know, I got kicked off their service when I was in a trade, and I was like, oh my god, you know what I mean? But yeah, so that was definitely like trading unlimited was a little bit tough. I took some huge hits here and there, and when I mean like huge hits, like nothing like crazy, well, big hits for me at least.
Yeah.
Like a couple grand, 5, 10, 15K, you know, like in a single trade. So it was definitely like, all right, how do I put myself into check and really clock down these emotions? Because that's another thing with day trading. When you're there, like the action's moving so fast
Mhm.
that you really have to stay calm. Everybody thinks that they can just be calm, but like when you're in a trade and you have like 50K, 100K in line, or even 10 or 5, whatever it is, it's just friggin' it's tough, you know. Things are moving fast. You're looking at so many different time frames. You're looking at a 2 minute, a 3 minute, a 5, a 10, a 15,
Yeah.
and you're like, what's going
You have
on?
to be able
So
to process that information. Like I keep on saying, look at it. You don't need to have any of these distractions. Just process it and execute essentially. Because there's, like you say, it's coming so fast. High volume, obviously, because you want to have more volume. Essentially, more stocks traded per whatever volume you're looking at, per whatever time period you're looking at, so you can be able to sell and buy the second you need it with however many shares you get it. So you're seeing these indicators, and you want to make sure that you're taking that information as fast as it's being presented, and then you're able to execute immediately. So it definitely can be overwhelming. And it sounds like one of you, if you had to offer some advice to anybody, it would be like definitely watch out if you're going to trade on the road or something, because I mean, you're, like you said, your service could get interrupted, and God knows if you bought into something and you couldn't sell out of it, I mean, you could potentially take a huge loss. So maybe, I mean, do you maybe take lesser trade sizes when you're on the road, or I mean, do you anything
um,
differently, or do you do it exactly the same?
I would say, no, I do it the same. Sizing is always very important to me. That's another thing that'll bring in a lot of emotions. If you go into too big on a position, you can get screwed pretty quick.
Hmm.
So I don't really change too much when I'm actually on the road. Like not really any more conservative or anything like that. But I would say just like if I would offer anyone advice, I would just say you're gonna learn through experience.
Yeah,
There's nothing that'll show you who you are and what you can handle under the stress and what losses you can really take until you've experienced it.
yeah, I
There's really
agree.
no way around it. It doesn't matter how much you study, how much you learn, how much you think you have a plan. Um, it You just have to learn through experience. And like I said, I like to be very self-aware and so what I do sometimes is if I'm doing like a little bit off, or I'm just my head's a little like frazzled up, I actually go on my cell phone and I just like record myself. And I
Hmm.
pretty much talk to myself through it, it's like a little sit down with
Yeah.
myself, I guess. I'll go for a ride and just talk, and I'll try to analyze myself and rewatch the video.
Well, I mean, I'd say
And
that's like any professional athlete. I mean, football players, whoever, they're reviewing the game film, and I think anybody that's going to take themselves seriously and do it, especially for a living, when like that's how you're paying your bills, that's how you're eating your food, then it would behoove you to want to talk yourself through it and see like, well, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong to ensure you're doing more of the right stuff and less of the wrong stuff. So I think that's exactly right. And I think that's great advice, man.
yeah, and definitely when you watch the videos and you hear yourself talk and you hear your thoughts and then you think about why you had those thoughts, it breaks it down to you almost have like an idea of why you're doing this and everything like that, which almost makes emotions more easy to curb. Like for instance, I remember, if you go back like a year or two ago, if I was on the computer trading and my girlfriend walked in, I'd be like, yo, get out, like I need to focus, I need to focus.
Yeah.
Now it's not like that. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, hey, like I'm like just so used to it. Or if I had a bad day, trading can make you very manic, highs and lows.
I've been there.
Quickly.
Yeah. I think anybody
Yeah,
that
like
can
some
say that,
days-
yeah. It really
Yeah.
it's just tearing your emotions apart, but now I think you almost become accustomed to it. Like you know how you're going to feel if you have a loss or a win, or you're so accustomed to the loss or the win that you just react unemotional about it. And
Yeah.
I think ultimately that's really good, because then you'll be able to pick apart that game footage as well, and I think you'd be able to decipher your decisions better with a clear mind. So I think talking yourself through it is awesome. Just going for a drive, getting away, just being by yourself, and literally just talking it out. That's pretty awesome. So
Yeah, like my girl would know, like if I had a bad day, if I had a good day. Now, if I have a huge awesome day, I won't even say anything. It's not because I'm trying to like keep it inside or anything like that. It's just because now like I just don't think about it.
yeah,
Like I really don't. And that also goes with like forcing trades. You know what I mean? Like I try to have certain hours I'm there in front of the computer, and after that, like I just try not to think about it. I'll keep an eye on stuff every once in a while.
yeah,
So,
of course.
try to step away.
No, that's
But
awesome.
yeah.
Sweet. So, man, so you've been doing it for quite a while now. You found your stride. That is awesome. And you're like decided, I'm doing day trading. And then I think the three things we talked about was obviously day trading being the buying and selling in favor of a stock's momentum going positive. And then you're also shorting stocks, and then options, of course, are a little bit of a different conversation as well. But is there, like, between those three options, is there any one of those that you do more than the other, or that you think is more lucrative, but maybe it's more dangerous or more risky?
All right. So for me personally, it is shorting stocks. That is my specialty. That's my niche. I believe very strongly. I've heard other people have said this, and I believe you. We talked about this, and I'm sure you'd agree. Everybody's trading style is different. Everybody needs to find their niche. Once you find your niche, you can build on that, and your niche will change as the market changes, as your strategy develops.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So for me, I would say that shorting stocks is my go-to because
Okay.
it's what I've had the most successful with, and also the most comfortable I feel. Not like my only strategy. Like I said, I'll do options, and I will go long. You know what I mean? If there's a good setup, I'll trade it. But for me currently, and also with my time, it's actually another thing no one really talks about. Your time of day you trade also will affect your strategy. So for me, I like to wake up pretty early. As soon as pre-market's going, you know what I mean, I'm usually up by 7:30. I have my scanner set up looking for any PR drops, anything like that. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for companies that are up on fluffy news, like weak news,
Yeah.
or or that they're spiking into an area of resistance that I can look back on the chart and see that there's either a lot of people stuck at this that will probably sell for a break even, or or another like part of resistance, and I will actually go in short before the bell rings on
Interesting.
most of my trades.
Okay.
The reason why is because sometimes I will wait till after the bell, but then I won't be able to find shares to short. There won't be any shares available.
Okay.
All right, you're pretty familiar with shorting, right?
So first of all, I've never done it, and I think I just understand it probably maybe in the aspect of the way most people understand it, that you're buying up these shares. I am not the best person to talk about it even, but I mean I know
No worries.
you're making money on as the stock price tumbles, of course, but I know there's a lot better technical way to explain that. I mean, you want to talk about that for like 30 seconds?
Yeah, so I'll just break it down for anyone who's just like not too familiar. So when you're shorting a stock, you need to buy. Buy it. You have to get shares to borrow,
Yeah, there you go.
and there's not always enough shares to be out, or something might be on SSR, short sale restriction. So for me, once in a while, I would actually not once in a while, kind of commonly, because a lot of other shorts would grab it. Shares would be out. There wouldn't be nothing to short. I would take all this time in analyzing the trade and the chart, and it was just for nothing. I wasn't not able to just get shares. So I started going pre-market. Also, if you look at a lot of like penny stocks, and when I say penny, I don't mean OTC. I don't mean under a dollar. I mean between like 3 and 10,
Yeah.
$10. You'll see a lot of them spike early during pre-market on whatever news or whatever, and then as soon as that bell rings, drops very,
Yeah,
very hard,
I've
very
seen that a lot. I
violently.
mean, that's pretty easy. You can, I
Yep.
mean, that's dead on. So
And that's what I go for.
you're just
I'm
recognizing
in
that,
that.
yeah. So,
Yeah, so I'm in that
okay,
pre-market usually once hitting resistance, and then within the first 30 minutes, I'm usually out.
that's pretty quick, yeah.
Definitely. Which is kind of a weird, because when most people short, they do not short into strength like that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I'm shorting literally into strength, but I kind of have an idea, and I have my risk management in place. So for me, it's better off. And also, when I short into strength, I have less risk. The amount of risk I'm putting up there. But anyways, so I'll do that. Also, another thing is, I know I just said I short penny stocks. I know I said that, and a lot of people are like, it's risky. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I agree, it is risky, all right, especially with low floats. I try to watch out for
I
those
mean, are you
things.
able to, like, people will
But
say it's risky, and I mean, no doubt it is risky, but are you able to mitigate the risk at all in any way? Because I know if you're going long on a stock, of course, you can have a stop loss, or a stop limit underneath it. I mean, are you able to do something like that on the reverse?
yep, exact same. Yep.
Okay.
So like I said, I will usually short into resistance. I'll put my stop loss a little bit above the resistance. If it breaks through, then I'm stopped down. That's that. On to the next. But so I'll do that, and then depending again on what time of day it is, I usually tend to go for higher price stocks after the bell has rung. I will
Okay.
usually look for mid caps between 10 to 60. Any more than 60, I usually start to use options because I
And
can use
you're
less
talking about
capital.
their total market capitalization, right, of being 10 million to 60 million. Is that what you're going for? Or?
$10 to $60
Oh, okay. You're talking
price
about $10 to
stock. Yeah.
$60. Okay, I thought we were talking about something
Yep.
else. I just want to be clear for everybody else. So
Oh yeah, no,
cool.
yeah, definitely go. 'Cause I ramble and I
Yeah, no, no, no. You're not rambling at all. I just want to make sure,
but
like, I'm understanding you straight too. But you go. So you're saying, post market or aftermarket, if you will, you're doing $10 to $60 instead of the $3 to $10 pre market.
yeah, I
Okay.
don't like penny stocks during the day. I don't. My strategy, my style, it doesn't do good. So
Yeah.
I'll go for those 10 to 60s, and the reason why I go for those 10 to 60s is because during the bell, there's a lot of bigger guys involved. It's not so much retail traders.
Yeah.
So patterns that you see on a chart will be a lot more likely to come true because one,
Hmm.
they're not as easy manipulated like penny stocks would be.
Yeah.
So they follow through a little bit more. There's more eyes on them. There's bigger players in them. So I noticed that I had better luck trading those size caps after the bell is rung. So that's like my little strategy, I guess you would say. What I'm trading is mostly patterns.
Okay.
If I don't see a setup or a pattern, I'm not going to go in. I will never buy at no man's land, which is near no support or resistance. I will always buy
Yeah.
near those
Yeah.
entries.
So I guess those are great pieces of advice, and I would say that to anybody, and I'm sure I've said that to tons of people. Like, you don't want to force a trade. and you don't want to buy a trade essentially within it. Kind of sounds like you're describing like a consolidation period where there's no telling if it's really going to continue going up or if it's going to continue going down.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing with day trading is it's very tough to trade day trade in like a speculative style, which means you're in a trade um, when a pattern is still forming. I usually like to trade on confirmation when the breakout happens or
Yep.
the breakdown
Yeah.
happens.
I think that's a great idea. I think no matter
You
what style
know,
you're doing, you kind of have to do that. I mean, because God forbid you get into a trade when it's consolidating or nothing is set in stone and it goes exactly the opposite way you thought it's going to go, and that's going to be pretty devastating. And you're just wasting your
yeah,
time. I mean, yeah, you'll have your safety there, your stop, but essentially you're wasting your time and you're still taking a minimal loss, and when you could have been in another trade. So it's better to maybe,
yeah,
it sounds like, wait a little bit, wait for that confirmation, and then get into it when the ball starts rolling, but don't force anything. So solid piece of
exactly.
advice there. Yeah, and that's just like
Yeah,
you keep on saying, like that's experience. I mean, really, nothing's gonna teach you better than that. And a lot of times, I think probably people, and myself included, would get into a trade too early, and because you even maybe you think it has been confirmed, and then it's not until you've done that 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 times that you realize that that is never going to happen if it does this or whatever it is. So but I think
yep,
I mean, you've said a lot of great things that I think anybody would be able to learn off of. But one of the things you said is it's different for everybody. I mean, the trading style is different for everybody. Like these things are going to work for you. You be able to recognize, these movements one way or another, but somebody else may be able to recognize something else that works for them. And that maybe they'll be great at, going long on a stock, whereas, you're fantastic at reading these for a short game. So I think it really just depends, and I think a lot of that is just formed on over your years of learning, and you've formed like, hey, I've recognized that these things work, these things don't work, and it kind of just forms along the way as we keep on saying you catch your stride. And I think anybody that's is going to do it long term like you and wants to do it seriously is going to be in the same situation.
yeah, and it doesn't matter like how long you do it. I'm telling you, man, I still have days and I like wake up. I'm like, yo, can I really do this forever? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really to that, and also like even though I say like the emotion has dwindled down a lot over the years and over the experience, it's still there. You know what I mean? And like, bad days are still bad days.
Yeah, it can get
But
frustrating. I mean, you're not a robot. You're a human being. You have emotions, regardless of, you're just able to better mitigate them essentially than like an amateur trader, but they're still present there in a sense. And some days, like you said, you have good days. Some days you have bad days. And I think some days when you have bad days, you're more susceptible to those emotions that are right next to those bad trades. So it can be tough,
yeah,
but I think the key is to just like consistently be able to maintain those emotions really, because it's not going to say like 100% of the time I'm going to be a robot, because clearly you'll have your bad days. But I think just being able to be the trader you have to be most of the time, a large majority of the time, is the way to do it. So
yeah, no, absolutely, and just small little habits that are like help you curb those emotions, and a lot of self analysis. Like look at the way you're doing trades. If you have a bad trade, go over it. Like see, like really ask yourself why you entered here or why
yeah,
you thought this,
yeah.
or like go over your losers more than your winners. Have you ever heard of Trading View?
I have heard of it, but I'm not too familiar about it. You go ahead.
That's Yeah, that's something I use. Basically, you just take your broker and depending on your broker, they should have a little thing, and you can just import your trades,
Okay.
and you can import it over, and it'll tell you like your accuracy rate, your
Okay,
best
cool.
times of day, then you can make the most profit
So
or
it's just
anything
like
like
pulling
that.
metrics on your trades throughout the day, and then you can probably see patterns on what your good trades, what your bad trades were, and when you were trading most. That's pretty cool. So that's Trading View,
Yeah.
you said?
Trading View,
Trading
yeah, it's
View.
just trading
Okay.
and view, VUE,
Oh, okay.
.com. But so I actually did it probably like just a couple of days ago. I redid it. and I did it probably since the beginning of this year. So January 1st, so I guess what, like 3 months? Yeah, about 3 months now. And I didn't do it in a while, and I was actually really surprised. Um, so last time I did it, my accuracy was pretty high. I think it was like around 70 something percent. I want to say 73 or 76, something like that. So I did it this time, and it was 59 point whatever percent of my accuracy. So I was like, wow. It's like that's not even like that's like you're right about half the time, but and a lot of people that aren't too experienced in trading would think like you're only right like less than 60% of the time. Like how are you gonna make money?
Yeah.
And that goes again into developing your strategy and your risk management. That's the key to this whole thing, man. Like education is definitely there, and like that's I guess number one. But risk management, like go over that. Like,
Yeah, and even with 60%, I mean, it's not like okay. So I guess this is what it was: 60%, 60%, 70% being starting to get pretty good, right? Because it's not like you're cutting off your winners immediately. So your winners, the goal at least, is to have your winners. You make more money off of that, let them ride essentially, and to like you keep on saying, mitigate your loss. So you're going to cut your losses off even more. So even though you're losing 40% of the time, you're cutting those off quick, and your winners are you're getting more out of those. So the percentage pulls a metric and allows you to analyze yourself, but at the same time, it's not analyzing essentially how long you're keeping that winner or that loser. So it's a little deceiving, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a really good point, actually. And the market's also been changing a lot this year. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it has been pretty crazy, and I think it's about to get crazier. But
yes, you know what? I know what you're saying. I agree. I absolutely agree.
it doesn't look good. The Dow looks a little bit crazy right now. I don't know. We'll be able to review this footage here maybe in a couple of weeks or a couple of months and see how right or wrong we were. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
It's crashing.
It's crashing. I don't know. The last couple of days have been pretty bad, and we'll see with all these new tariffs that are going on. We're not getting into that. That's a whole other conversation. But we'll just see. Luckily for us as traders, you can make money, going long, or you can make money going short. So there's always money to be made, and I think that's the important part. So.
I wanted to go short. I just want this bear market to kick off so I can just
Exactly. See, so it's not a bad thing. You just got to be able to be flexible, and you got to be able to know how to make money on both ends. And I think as a trader, you'll be successful. But
yeah. And this is actually another thing that for the trading view and that accuracy. So those trades I imported was not off my main broker, which are the old ones were. So this one that I did was off of SureTrader, and I think I told you a little bit about them. So I was doing a small account challenge. Right?
yeah, that's right.
And just to touch back on it, I know we talked about it earlier, but just for your listeners. So I started off with I put it in over 500, but with fees and everything, it brought it down to $474. And this is a SureTrader account. Now, if you don't know SureTrader, it's an offshore's brokerage account. So it avoids the pattern day trader rule, the PDT that we were talking about earlier. So you don't need 25K
Okay.
in your account, and you can trade unlimited. So I started with them, and I'm not doing it now, but I got it up to about $3,400, right? And at this point is when Trump was talking about.
So that's pretty incredible, though. I mean, I think we need to pause for a second, like people to realize that you started with a few $100s and you got up to $3,400. It's not just like, oh, I got it up to $3,400. I mean, that's like a couple %, I'd say, right?
Oh yeah, and it was in I think it was in 34 days, 34 trading days.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I was really happy with it, and then I started. All right, so this is the thing with SureTrader. SureTrader is a very good tool to use to get around that, but they have some insanely expensive platforms and commissions. And when I say insane, I mean literally insane. And there's no way of telling you. I've jumped into a trade and it was $40 to buy. Now it's $40 to sell.
That is crazy.
It's $80. It's nuts.
It's gone.
And then they'll have like another side ECN fee and all this stuff. And I wasn't really paying much attention to it. But anyway, so I was in it and I was really happy with it. And this is again with more self-awareness, but I started getting a little cocky with it. All right, and for this I was using hotkeys because SureTrader, they don't have the bracket orders like I use for the other one on E-Trade.
Yeah.
But so I stepped away, and this was when I was at 34, and I stepped away from the computer for I think it was like 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I was shorting X steel. I think I was shorting it around $46. All right, and it was down to about 44 at the time. So I was just kind of sitting there. I was fine. I wasn't in any threat. And Trump started talking about those tariffs. Things skyrocketed. I wasn't around. Friggin' severed my account basically in half. And the reason why I did in half is because they give you a 6-to-1 leverage. So for every $1 you have, they're going to give you 6 to trade with. All right, so you got $1,000 to trade with 6K. So that can make your gains huge or make your losses
huge. Yeah.
So me stepping away, and if you bring up the chart on X, I forget the day, but it was probably like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. It like squeezed like crazy. There was a bunch of shorts in it. Then with the news, and it was midday. I think it was like noon. Like nothing happens in you. I was like probably making a sandwich or something. Thing squeezed.
It's an expensive sandwich.
Yeah, right. And I got slammed. And I was like, "Yo, like what is going on?" And then like. That entire week, I was just getting murdered, and this market is changing right now. It's so volatile, it's nuts. And now, just to touch back, X now, I think it's like $34.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like the market's such an overreaction. These knee-jerk reactions.
It's a lot of that. Which is another reason, another reason to be good about, or that the day trading can be good, is because you're in and out, and you don't have to worry about these knee-jerk reactions or these over assumptions or these emotional reactions or whatever you want to call them all, because as we all know, you just explained it. It went up, it squeezed, so essentially to anybody that doesn't know what that is, it just essentially skyrocketed, right? And went up to, I don't know what you said it went up to, but then it came all the way back down.
It went up to 48.
Yeah.
48.
So it jumped up
in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. And then it dropped all the way down, $14 from there, so... Very emotional.
And a squeeze also is like with shorts too, because there's so many people shorting it.
Yeah.
And then when it goes up, they're forced to buy. So there's buyers buying, and now there's shorters that are buying. So it's just like, it's crazy. So I got really pissed, and that entire week I was just getting beat up, and basically I was still low. I think I ended up having like $1,200 in it at that point. So I was just really mad, and I took it out, and I started going over the commissions. So SureTrader, that's another thing about SureTrader. So I'm ranting about them. They have a separate thing for trade management. Like you have their platform and their website, and then they have something called iBoss. It's completely different. This is how you track your commissions and everything else. And to even get on it, they need to unblock your IP address. It's like nuts. Like you have to call them, which cost me like $300 just to call them because they're offshores.
Yeah, this sounds like an expensive process here. I mean,
oh my god, it was such a nightmare, and they're horrible customer service, unfortunately. But so I started looking at the commissions, and like at the time, the money was coming in, so I wasn't really looking at it too much. I knew in a single day, like I was having days where I'd spend $500 just in commissions, like easy. Like I was seeing normal days between $200 and $500 a day. So in those 34 trading days, I had over $3,000 in trading commission that I paid out. So I started thinking, I was like, yeah, that's another $3,000 that could have been in my pocket if I went through just E-Trade, but I can't obviously because I was doing over $474. And so, anyways, long story short, I got mad at them. I took my account out. I'm not using them right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and trade with my strategy, but a strategy for their platform in of itself. So I need a new strategy just to trade with them.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to use just my strategy in this new market that's changing a little bit. But I'm still going to do that challenge.
Yeah.
And I want to record it better too. I'm going to figure out what.
No, I think that'd be pretty cool, somebody to track it. But this sounds a little bit. It's down the road. People are. I would say don't jump immediately into this offshore account here to do that. It's expensive fees. There's plenty of things stateside that you can do it. Of course, you won't be able to day trade, but maybe I'm sure there's people that are going to watch too that have been in doing it for a little while. That maybe that is the next step. They want to try something like that, a little bit more lucrative. But
all right, so this is just to your viewers. All right, if you are new, do not use SureTrader. Do not get in there and think that you can trade unlimited. All right. Get a normal brokerage account with E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, Robinhood, whatever.
Yeah.
Do a couple of day trades in the 5 trading days until they give you until you get your day trades back. Do it once in a while. Stick with your swings, safe swings, not in penny stocks. because I've been doing this for years, and I
Yeah.
have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of screen time, and they still it was tough for me to do that
Yeah.
and to work with them. So
Yeah.
definitely just take your time.
Man.
Like, there's no rush. The market's gonna be here tomorrow, the next day. But your money won't. So if you jump in it with that money, you'll lose it all tomorrow. So
Yeah.
market ain't going nowhere.
So what's the next step for Mike? You just gonna keep on? You said you're gonna go back to this offshore a little bit, but and then you on your stateside stuff, you're gonna continue shorting the. I don't want to say probable, but potential bear market we have coming up. But is you just
Yeah.
gonna
So for right
keep on
now,
going on? I mean, keep on. Obviously, you want to keep a successful thing going, but even the greatest people in the biz, whatever they're doing, change up and try to continue to get better. So
yeah. So for right now, yeah, I'm constantly going over old videos and just old trading styles that I kind of developed and tweaking them. I'm still shorting. I'm definitely these last couple weeks have been very tough in the market for shorts, for longs,
yeah,
for everyone. Um, and I haven't really been able to get much traction these past 3 weeks. I've probably been only doing on my green days, probably like literally 100, 200 a green day. And my losses probably about the same. But so I was more spinning tires until I think, yeah, until the other day I shorted OMER and I
hmm
made 2600 off that one in 16 minutes. So that was a pretty good one. But I've been jumping into options more right now.
heck yeah,
So options for me is still actually a new thing. I am very basic in it, but I
hmm
want to be improved on that. Right now, with the swings in the market, I feel like options will be a better suit. A little bit less stressful. It's a good way to
yeah,
swing, stocks without having so much capital put down. You risk a higher percentage, but you also gain a higher percentage, but
yep,
the amount of capital is less needed. So, you can get into a high price stock for like $300. And actually, I'm gonna pull up one, and since this is gonna be dated, I just want to do it just for fun. So for an option that I have coming up, 1 second. So what I've been doing is I've been buying high price stocks
okay,
for a very cheap premium. Like usually I've been paying like 20 cents a contract, and I've been putting them 3 or 4 months out. And I had like friggin' 30 contracts of MU for $58. I bought it
okay,
uh, when it was I think 38, 39 um, in December maybe. Yeah, it's December or something like that. So I bought a bunch of contracts, and they expired last month, worthless. It was about $336. February like 18th. So if this was 1 month later, that $300 lot of contracts would have been over 13K today.
oh wow, that's pretty
So
incredible.
yeah, it's 30 days off. So I'm kind of doing that small little bets more or less, and just kind of taking my time. I'm really stepping back on the market right now, kind of just watching it a little bit
Yeah,
more.
better to watch a
You
little bit
know,
more than get in there into a volatile market and take huge losses. So
yeah, like
yeah,
OMER, like that was like I said, the only real good catch, and I did it just like I always do. Got in a pre-market at 1890, and I shorted it down to 1625
okay, nice, yeah,
with 1,000 shares and 2,600 on it. So that was a good one. But yeah, so I'm just keep doing my thing, man. I'm just going over my
sweet.
strategy. It's nonstop. Focus a little more on options, and just getting ready for the summer. Summer the volume dies down a little bit in the market,
hmm
so gets a little bit boring. But that's
Okay.
probably when I'll probably start bartending. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a
man,
summer
switch it
job.
up.
So.
Yeah, change it up. So I know, of course, I do a lot of stuff in the investment thoughts that we have on Facebook, and I know you have a group too, and I know you do something on Discord as well. I mean, is there anything um, that you want to talk about on there for social media? Or I know a lot of your stuff is like private, and you only take a certain amount of people that are very serious about doing it and willing to put in their due diligence. I mean, do you want to talk about that at all, or?
Yeah, sure. So All right, so the thing that I have is called Tactical Traders. It's a new thing for me, and this was actually when I was saying I have a lot of time on my hands. I've been getting really bored. Me and a buddy of mine that I've been trading with for a couple of years, he bought the website, and he was like, he didn't even tell me about it, I just bought it. He was like,
Yeah.
hey, like let's do this. You know what I mean? I was like, all right, it's a good idea. So we started up Tactical Traders. We are on StockTwits. You find us on StockTwits. I do post my entries, my trade plans
Okay.
in live time. So it is dated. It'll have a time next to it, so you can see exactly what price I got in on what ticker at what time. And then at the end of the day, I usually go through and like reiterate on that.
So people can kind of see your thought process of how you're buying and selling or shorting or whatever you're doing. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Exactly, and also it kind of gives me a little bit more of a credit that I'm not just some guy talking. Like I will call out what's going to happen, and for the most part, you know what I mean. It'll follow through, and my plans should, well, hopefully, are on point.
Yeah.
I do get stopped. I do put my stop losses on them too. So if I
Yeah.
get stopped out, you'll know. It's dated time. And then on the Facebook, that was actually the original like startup of it all. I do keep it somewhat private. The reason why is because I don't like a lot of people on it because they start to post like sign up for Robinhood and I'll get a free share of this or whatever,
Yeah.
and they start spamming out my board. I don't like
Yeah.
outside noise. A lot of outside noise I feel like can affect traders and put more voices in their head.
I agree. Yeah.
So I try to keep that nonsense out. Discord's just a private chat. That again, it's invite only. I don't want to spam it up. I don't want to have a lot of noise. 90% of these people don't know what the fuck they're doing. Oh, excuse my language. Don't know what they're doing.
It's all good, man.
So I just thought. I don't want a negative influence. I really want people to.
No, of course.
have
So
a good
it sounds like
understanding.
maybe if somebody was actually serious about learning for more information from you, they could maybe seek you out in Tactical Traders on a search book or on a Facebook search, and then go from there, and then feel that out maybe for some weeks or some months, and maybe talk to you. And if they're really serious and you get through it, then maybe eventually the Discord would be an option for them even, but to start out in Tactical Traders and see where it takes them.
Yeah, and also a lot of people do through the chat, through the Facebook, through StockTwits. They'll see that the certain trades that I post, and they are curious on how I went about analyzing it.
Yeah.
So I'm not too technically advanced, even though I'm on a computer all day.
Yeah.
I am not that technically advanced. I'm not gonna.
You do what you have
anything.
to. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was like, all right, I'll try to do this. So I started a YouTube channel. It's like nothing, all right? There's like 2 videos on it that I recently put up because people were like asking me. So I put up the video. It shows my trades. I literally go through it one candle at a time.
Yeah, awesome.
So it'd be like kind of like real time. And I say, all right, this is what I see. This is why I entered here. And then I kind of break down the trade plan.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a strategy, but I kind of explain what I'm seeing and what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Just for anyone that's curious. But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm doing. I do want to grow that a little bit more, but I need someone that can build websites. I do have a website up too, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's plenty of people here. I know there's some people in my group, Investment Thoughts, that I run with a couple of people that I think do websites, and I guess just hit Mike up if you're pretty competent with that, and maybe he'll tit for tat give you some information. So, but
no, I like explaining it. You know what I mean? I feel like if you can teach something, it makes you better at your craft. You know?
Hey man, well I've really enjoyed our conversation. Always do. A lot of information. I think it's great how you just kind of started at the beginning, kind of how you got started. You went through the process and to where you are now, and it's just like I think you're just constantly evolving, and always, like you said, there's always something to be learned, and you're always changing, not necessarily your strategy, but maybe tweaking a little bit to fit the market and whatever is the most lucrative in that time, and just keep on pushing on no matter what the market throws at you, and to be able to be flexible. So appreciate you sharing and having a conversation with us and sharing the group, and hopefully people that are a little bit more serious about it, they check you out and learn a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And also for anyone that's starting off, just it's gonna be tough. This is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
very, very tough. Just either stick with it or just quit because it's not for everyone.
That's pretty much
And
it.
like
Yeah, unfortunately,
like
there's
you said, it doesn't stop. Like even if you learn like basics and you go through it, you gotta change with the market. It's just like a business. If, in business, if you don't innovate and you don't constantly change with the world, you're gonna get left behind. And that's the same with the
exactly,
market.
you are going to get left
Yeah.
left behind, and it's happened, time and time again. And I think only companies that are willing to change and willing to adapt, and those are only going to be the successful ones over a long period of time. And of course, you want to do this over a long period of time. And it's an
Right.
extremely volatile market, always changing. So it's pretty serious. You got to be serious about it. But man, that's awesome advice all throughout here. A lot of good information. So I know I appreciate it. I'm sure anybody that watched through appreciates it as well. And hopefully they check out your group and just continue the search for knowledge, man, and just really get into it. So thanks so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. I hope this helped. Anyone that watched it. Even if it was just one thing, hopefully it clicks and it makes your trading journey a little bit easier. So,
Yeah. And I think, you said it, and I think in the very beginning, you just got to start. I mean, if you're wondering where to start, just get out there, make an account with one of these accounts, and start throwing around some money a little bit, seeing how it is to lose, seeing how it is to win, and just figuring out exactly how to do it, and then figure out your stride and go from there.
exactly. You either get bitten and get that fever, or you don't.
Yeah. No.
But
Awesome,
yeah.
man. Well, hopefully, we maybe a few months down the road or whatever, we get another conversation here. We see what we predicted with the market. See if that I don't know. I can't imagine where it's going to be. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening right now, so we'll see where it's at, see where you're at, and maybe do a interview 2.0. So it'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So
It'd be good, yeah. By then, hopefully, I'll restart the Search Trader Challenge again.
Yeah,
Have a
right.
strategy mapped out for them.
have an update on that. Well, awesome, man. I really appreciate it, and I guess thanks everybody for watching. And we'll talk to you later.